Hi everyone, my name is Alma. I was born blind and spent most of my conscious life in the dark. I couldn't see anything. I'm going to tell you now about how I went through it and why my parents were glad I couldn't see, and why they refused to help me. At first, when I was born, blindness was nothing unusual for me. I grew up believing that it was normal, that it should be like this, that everyone was like this. At first, my parents took care of me. They were my whole world. I knew what they looked like through tactile messages, through smell. I was good at identifying who walked into a room by mere footsteps. I had great hearing. And everything in the world was comfortable, my own. It wasn't until one day that my mom and dad told me that I was blind. I didn't immediately know what that meant until they told me. I got to the age where I had to go to elementary school. It was a special school with a lot of kids like me. I was treated well, and everyone understood each other. Everyone had something different from the others. Some couldn't hear, some couldn't see, like me, and some had other disabilities. And then my family had to move to another city. Since then, we've wandered from place to place, and I had to change more than a dozen schools. Not all cities and countries had special schools like my first, so I had to go to regular ones. And there, I was no longer treated as an equal. I remember how, in one of those schools, when I entered the classroom, I immediately got a beating from someone. It was a boy by the sound of his voice. He pushed me when I was walking in his way. I fell, and he didn't even notice my cane. A minute later, they said to him, "Hey, Michael, she's blind." And he was like, "So what? Is that my problem? No. No one dares walk in my way." And he walked by. He didn't even help me up. Nobody helped. Apparently, he was the one in charge there. I went home upset. My parents calmed me down, and I asked them to come with me to school to talk to the principal or the teacher or Michael's parents, but they looked for every excuse not to go. I sat down in despair and asked for their protection. My mother cried and then said they just couldn't go with me. "But why? All parents protect their children, so why can't you?" "Because it will only get worse." "But why? How much worse? I could get hurt and you and Dad don't care?"
"Because we are cowards."
"What?"
"Because we are afraid of your classmates' parents. We've been afraid of something all our lives. That's why we often move around. That's why I work remotely with your mom instead of going to a different place in an office. We are more comfortable at home. Not many people see us, and we don't see them either."
"So, is this because of me? Because I'm handicapped? Are you ashamed of me?" No way, we're glad you're like this." "What do you mean you're glad?"
"Mom just means that we love you just the way you are. That's all."
"Then, when I grow up, will I be like you too? Work from home, have no friends, and move around a lot? I'm sick of moving around." "I understand, my daughter, but we can't settle down yet." From then on, I changed to 3 more schools. At each of them, I didn't make any friends. My parents didn't attend a single school event. All the time, they hired someone to walk me in and pick me up from school. I had never really thought about why they did it, what they were afraid of, until I met someone by chance. A babysitter brought me to school that day. At the gate, I realized that I had dropped my phone somewhere. The nanny didn't hear me calling, apparently, and she'd already left. I began to feel on the ground with my hands, hoping that it was somewhere nearby. And then someone handed it to me. A woman's voice said, "Are you looking for a phone?" I looked up at the voice and said yes. "Here you go." She shoved it into my hands and then helped me to get up and walk to class. "And who are you?" "My name is Belinda. I guess I'll be studying with you from now on." "Thanks for helping me out. I don't usually get help." "I know what you mean. My mom had vision problems too." "Did she? Did she get rid of it somehow?" "Yeah, we cured her with 100% loss. It was long and expensive, but it was worth it." "And now she can see?" "Even when I'm stealing my dad's cigarettes." "So, there's hope." "Yeah, your parents must have tried 100 doctors, right?" I remained silent because I realized at that moment that they had never taken me to a hospital to see an eye doctor. We'd never had a conversation about medical treatment in our family, and I wondered, what if all was not lost? Belinda was a real piece of work. Despite her gentle voice, she fought back against anyone who would even say a word to hurt me or herself. She went everywhere with me, helped me, gave me treats, walked me home, and that's how we became friends. One day, I sat down with her on the school soccer field, eating lunch and chatting while no one else was around. I asked her why she chose to befriend me. "What do you mean? You're everywhere and always with me. Don't you get tired of it? You're awesome, for one. Second, I know what you're going through. I know what my mom went through when she lost her sight. It's very kind of you. Thank you." I'm not like this with everyone. I already know that. I've heard you fight over me. Yeah, you've got good hearing. I wish I could fix my eyesight. I mean, I just recently wondered, what do I even look like? What's my nose, my mouth, my face, my figure? And what if I never find out? I'll tell you one thing, you're pretty. I'll also give you something else. I don't know who your hairdresser is, but he should be fired. I always get my hair cut by my dad. What's wrong with it? It's not bad, it's just hair that was worn about 400 years ago. Do you want me to help you change it? Yes! I don't know what it'll be like, but yes! Belinda grabbed my hand and took me somewhere. She said it was a beauty salon. We were there for almost half the day. They did stuff to my eyebrows, my hair, the skin on my face, and my hands, like a manicure. When I got out of there, she took my picture and then we went for a walk and went to a cafe. It was the best day of my life. And then my mom called and scolded me for not answering my babysitter's calls. She told me to run home. Belinda walked me home. The babysitter came out to meet me. I said goodbye to my friend and went inside, where the scolding continued.
Who is this girl? She is a bad influence on you. I forbid you to communicate with her.
But Mom, this is my first friend in my whole life. How can you?
I've told you everything. I'll see her again and...
You will, and I'm deprived of it, so don't forbid me to at least hear her, Mom. And, by the way, why have you never taken me to a doctor?
What?
Why haven't you taken me to a doctor? I have a hopeless illness, apparently.
Yes, you were born this way. You have to accept it.
What if I don't?
You have to. Your father and I accept you this way. Isn't that enough?
It's not enough, Mom. It's not enough. I demand that you take me to see a doctor.
No.
Why?
Go to bed. You're punished.
What for?
Go.
I freaked out and went to my room. That night, I couldn't sleep. But it wasn't because of the fight with my mom. It was her reaction that bothered me. I could hear the way she was breathing, and I knew she only breathed like that when she was lying. The next day, I was taken to school, but it was a different school. I didn't want to go there. I fought with my nanny, but she just said that that's what my folks had decided. They took away my phone and gave me a new one. I couldn't get in touch with Belinda, but that wasn't all. When I got home from school, my parents were packing. They said we were moving again. Are you kidding me? I'm not going anywhere.
Yes, you are. We're almost packed.
It's because of Belinda, isn't it?
No, it's for your own good.
What good? I've been fine. It's hard for you here, so we thought we'd find you a better place. I'm tired of running. Tell me, what are we always running from and where? I got silence in response, and only breathing. My parents were not telling me something. I decided to calm down, and then I said that I would go with them if they only let me say goodbye to Belinda, and they agreed. I called her and we met at the same soccer field. I told her everything, and she took me to see her mother without a word. My mother was cured by a doctor. He's a great ophthalmologist. He and I have become friends over the years. He can see you, my friend said. It all happened so quickly. Her mom called him and we went straight to the hospital. The doctor examined me and then said,
Unbelievable.
What?
Unbelievable.
What is it?
There is nothing wrong with her vision.
What? You're confused. She's been blind since birth.
She had an operation. Artificial blindness, but her eyeball is fine. The only question is, why?
My parents. They've never taken me to a doctor or answered the question why. That's weird. We did everything so our mom could see again. Why don't your parents care about their own child?
I can fix this in 20 minutes.
I won't talk about how freaked out I was when my vision came back to me, but the most important thing happened as soon as I got home. My parents turned out to be midgets with disproportionate bodies, and they had deliberately ruined my eyes so that I could not see them. I was born a normal, healthy baby, and they were afraid that I would push them away, just like society had. For a long time, I couldn't forgive them, but then I decided that it wouldn't do anyone any good. So we stayed in the same town where we were, and my parents, on my terms, had to get out of the house, socialize with people, and overcome their complexes. It was the only way I promised to forgive them.
Broccoli, cabbage, carrots, cucumbers, lots of vitamins, fruits, no sugar in my life. That's what I've been surrounding myself with for the last year. Proper nutrition is boring. That's what they tell me. But you know what? I'll tell you now why I started eating like this and about the advantages that I realized from all this. Hi, everyone. My name's Rick, and if you haven't met me just 2 years ago, you would have not recognized me because I was a fan of fatty junk food, sugary soda, and much more. To begin with, my family has never really adhered to the rules about food. My mother often cooked meat, she loved to fry it in butter, and we ate a lot of flour. Dad has a sweet tooth, so there were always sweets, pastries, and puddings in our house. All this brought pleasure. We bought food for 6 people every week, even though there were only 3 of us with our parents. Unbeknownst to us, we were getting fatter and fatter every year. Of course, my mother was worried about the weight, but there was nothing she could do about the whims. Besides, my father also liked fatter and more satisfying dishes. Whenever we had visitors, they would ask us why we ate few vegetables and almost no fruit, and we would just shrug our shoulders and eat on. At some point, I stopped getting into t shirts and wondered how sad it was. And then I met a girl who was older than me. She was already in college. Our acquaintance happened by chance. We met on the parking. On the way, we somehow got into a conversation and went to the market together for groceries. We had two identical cart baskets, only mine was filled to the brim with snacks, sweets, meats, and bread, and she had a few vegetables, dairy products, and fruit. She looked at my basket and looked at hers, and we laughed. I said, "Can you eat enough of this?" She said, "Yes, and it's also insanely delicious if you cook it right." I didn't believe her then. How can healthy food be delicious? We exchanged numbers and went our separate ways. In the evening, I came home, and when we sat down at the table, I asked my parents, "What if we changed the diet?" My dad gave me a sour look, and he said he wasn't going to spend the rest of his life on a diet that left me hungry, stressed out, and generally did more harm than good. My father firmly believed that food should be a pleasure, otherwise, we deprived ourselves of the last joy. Mom didn't say anything, and I ate quite a bit and went to my room. In the evening, I wrote to that girl. Her name was Amelia. I asked her how she came to eat this way, to which she replied that her mother had taught her. They eat like this almost all their lives. Then she sent me a photo of her mother, and I was surprised. They looked almost the same age. My mother's 50 years old, she said. She looks 30, and all this thanks to nutrition. No plastic surgery, Amelia wrote. Then she said that in medical school, they were first taught that we are what we eat. This meant that food builds our body, and the more useful it is, the healthier and more beautiful our body is. The last words stuck in my head. I went to the mirror and looked at myself. No abs, big sides, sagging breasts. Only 17 years old, and I already look like my father. Amelia threw me a few programs and applications, thanks to which you can easily count calories and make a menu. All I had to do was buy the right products. A week later, I returned to the market and bought a bunch of vegetables and other useful things for the first time. You should have seen the parents' face when they looked at the packages. My father started swearing. He said that I had wasted my money. He told me to return the food to its place, and then I could not restrain myself. I said I wanted to learn a healthier lifestyle with them. To be honest, I didn't expect Dad to be so outraged. He had a fight over the food and he got very sick. Mom called an ambulance and Dad was taken away. When he arrived after the car, we were told that my father had high cholesterol, which is dangerous for the heart and blood vessels. Diet and exercise are necessary, the doctor said. Dad managed to rebel even there. He behaved like a child, and at that moment I firmly decided that it was time to change something in my life. While he was in the hospital, I made an audit in the kitchen, threw out all the harmful products, bought more healthy food, and in the evening, my mother and I made steamed cutlets together, boiled broccoli, and placed the bread with oatmeal loaves. To our surprise, the food was very tasty. The first few days were unusual, even felt hungry, but then the body began to cleanse and I began to sleep better. Gradually, lost shortness of breath and the pulse returned to normal. However, the hardest part was yet to come. When my father was discharged, he came home and asked for steaks. We steamed the meat again, and when Dad sat down at the table, his mood fell. He refused to eat at all and went to the room. In the middle of the night, we heard a noise in the kitchen. He was looking for his chocolates. When he saw me, he started shouting that he was hungry, that I was trying to starve him, that I wasn't feeding him, and so on. My mother and I had to calm him down for a long time. We spent most of the night talking, explaining that it was time for all of us to eat right. My father was very angry. As a result, he did not eat for almost 2 days. He did not have the strength left. I brought food on a tray, and he pushed it aside. Then I sat down next to him and asked him to try for me. I once again told him that we kill ourselves every day, and if he doesn't stop, it will only get worse. Only after a week of persuasion, he still agreed. We cooked every day, and every time it was different. At first, he spat, and then he got a taste. A week later, he even asked for vegetables and fruit for dessert. We realized that we were more dependent on food, not physiologically, but psychologically. And if we release ourselves, it becomes easier. So we lived for about 6 months, and then I managed to drag my parents to the gym for sports. We began to study together. During the year, we lost a good weight, and my mother's skin became younger. She began to walk more often with my father. He already woke up in the morning to exercise. It was beautiful. If you compare the photo from a year ago and the current one, the difference will be great. And just today, my dad thanked me for making him healthier, just like the rest of us. So I strongly advise everyone to think about what we eat and stop killing themselves with junk food every day. Tell me, did you guys like my story? Write your opinion about it in the comments below the video, and don't forget to put likes, share the video with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.